All right, well, let's bring in outnumbered co-host and former White House press secretary, Kayleigh McEnany. Kayleigh, good to see you for the second time on the show. Thanks for being with us.
Great to be back. Always love joining you guys. Okay,
so let's get your take. We're talking about Joe Biden. Is he going to run? There's now rumors in Politico he may step aside. What say you?
I think you were spot on, Sean. This is a guy who is going to run. He's been in power for his whole life, essentially. I mean, certainly 4 decades now. He's not going to give that up. He's a narcissist. I understand they say he's not decisive, and he was very deliberative in his calculations in 16 and then in 20. But this is a guy who can't let power go. And getting out now would be something I don't think we've seen since Lyndon Johnson. And I don't think this president is going to be the president who tacitly admits his time is over, because in some ways that would admit failure, that he doesn't believe he can do it again, or at least that would be the perception of some. He's in. He's running. I don't believe that Political article for a second.
Kayleigh, though, there's so many Democrats who are, he's fallen up flights of stairs, but there's so many Democrats who are waiting to push him down a flight of stairs, figuratively. And will they really tolerate this? Because it's a vast machine of backbiters and backstabbers, and it all does hinge on money. Will they say, oh, he's the head of the party, but will they tolerate that?
I think they will. The only risk he has is someone on the far left flank at this point defecting. If you would have asked me that same question pre-midterms, my answer would have been yes, defections are coming. His approval ratings historically garner a primary challenge. Gavin Newsom even made a comment right before the midterms that was suggestive of a potential presidential run, or at least tacitly critical of Biden. But his midterm results, I mean, have to admit, they were astounding. I don't believe it was a referendum on Biden. Even Jen Psaki said if it was, they would have lost the midterms. But it was a very good midterm cycle, one of the best we've seen historically. They feel like he's riding high now after the State of the Union. So they feel unbeatable. And at this point, I don't see a Democrat coming out and challenging him, other than maybe Marianne Williamson, which wouldn't that be fun to watch?
Right. So, Kayleigh, the media continues to attack your home state governor, Ron DeSantis, even though he's not announced his candidacy yet. Take a listen to this.
In my view, there are 3 states yet you can't really run from if you're trying to win across America. You run from New York, you're too crazy, you're liberal. You run from California, you're too crazy, you're liberal, you're trying to make sure I can't get plastic straws. You run from Florida, it's all crystal meth and alligators, right? Like, I mean, that's what people think. And I'm not saying that that's the case. I'm saying those are sort of the national reputations of those states. So when you see Ron DeSantis running and claiming that he's going to do for America what he's done in Florida, it seems like that'd be a problem.
Kayleigh, crystal meth and alligators versus a free economy and an open economy. Why, thousands, tens of thousands of people from blue states are actually flocking to the state. What do you make of this ridiculous layup by a left-wing pundit?
Right. Crystal meth and alligators. We have the lowest crime rate in 50 years. New business formations are at an all-time high. I believe Florida is #1 in the country. One of the top states to migrate to. You mentioned personal freedoms. This is an economy that was largely open during COVID-19. The economy and those metrics speak for themselves. And it's no wonder, if crystal meth and alligators, that's what's attracting AOC and Eric Swalwell to have their vacations. Don Lemon, as he was hiding from CNN, fled to the beaches of Miami. My family's been there 170 years, so we figured out how great Florida was a long time before these leftists who like to attack it but vacation there.
Florida had the #1 population growth last year of any state. And I think the state that shrunk the most was, of course, New York. Now, Kayleigh, if he had said, if people want to complain about Florida, if that left-wing pundit had said humidity, okay, we would have bought into that. We'd be like, you want to criticize Florida and you complain about big hair that cannot be controlled even with the best hairspray. All right, we're all in on that. But with Ron DeSantis, where is he? What areas does he need to work on? I've heard people say, he's going to flesh out his foreign policy. He needs to talk. He's going to have to kind of lay out an economic policy vision for the country, because we know what President Trump stands for, because we've seen it.
It's true. And President Trump, was there for 4 years, tried and tested, went to the swamp, and the swamp did not eat him. He stayed true to his principles. Ron DeSantis, policy-wise, absolutely spot on. Both candidates, excellent candidates, but where Ron DeSantis is going to have to really think hard is, it's one thing when you are, because I did this, stand at a podium and, you've got your microphone there and there are a bunch of reporters. It's another thing, and Sean, you probably have some experience with this, being on a debate stage with all these other microphones. The closest I can get to that experience was being on CNN panels where you had 8 people shouting you down. President Trump has mastered the art of breaking through a loud and chaotic debate stage. And the question for Ron DeSantis is will he be able to break through from a communication standpoint when you have the former president right beside you and a wing of perhaps 10 other candidates? That will be his real challenge.
And that really is a conversation. Is Ron going to get in the race? Because you hear people really talk about Ron DeSantis, Donald Trump. And it's one thing to run for governor. It's a big deal in a big state like Florida. But the game is completely different, isn't it, Kayleigh? When you actually step on the big stage and run for president, the press is tougher, the questions are tougher, the debate is harder. It's a different game, isn't it?
It is. I mean, look, we saw this with Marco Rubio.
Yes.
The star was rising. Everyone was talking about him. We saw this with Scott Walker. So there's a risk anytime you come out on the national scene. Same time,
even Chris Christie.
Ron DeSantis, yes, great point. Even Chris Christie. But if you don't take that shot now while you're the hottest governor in the country, you might be the next Nikki Haley. And I mean, no offense to her, but she at one point was the hottest governor in the country back in 2012, around that time. Mm-hmm. She didn't take her shot, and now she's polling at 3 to 6%. So different ballgame, for sure. But you always want to strike while the iron's hot.
Indeed. Speaking of being back on his heels, Pete Buttigieg finally going to East Palestine. That's happening tomorrow. But what happened in between him announcing it and the decision and him going tomorrow was this video. Watch this, Kayleigh.
You have to say to the folks in Ohio, East Palestine, who are suffering right now?
Well, I'd refer you to about a dozen interviews I've given today.
You don't have a message for them?
I do, and I shared it with the press many times today. I'd refer you to those comments.
Would you mind sharing it with us?
No, I'm going to refer you to the comments that I made to the press because right now I'm taking some personal time and I'm walking down the street.
Okay,
not talking
thank
on the
you.
street. Can I get a photo of you?
Yeah.
Way to kind of turn it back on the young woman. That's a dude cracking under pressure, Kayleigh McEnany.
Yeah, personal time. You really don't get much of that when you're in public service, government service on the taxpayer dime, but he sure finds a way to take a lot of personal time. That video happened, and I believe one of Biden's handlers got on the phone and said, get over to East Palestine, because guess who's going to be there? President Donald Trump, who went today. And there was another video that came out today, not just that Pete one. One of President Trump got on the ground, delivered water that he paid for himself, looked like a commander-in-chief, looked like a president. And you have an administration that has not sent the president, and not even that, has not sent the transportation secretary. This is a bad look. And that video compounded that. And that's why someone got on the phone and said, Mayor Pete, get on out over to East Palestine and do it quickly.
Hey, Kayleigh, real quick. At the end of the video, you hear Mayor Pete ask the videographer if she would take a picture with him. I take that as he wants a picture so we can find out who she is and actually try to cancel her or threaten her. What did you make of that?
Yes, but at the very beginning, if you watch, the reporter identifies her name and her outlet.
Right.
So this seemed more than that, just an intimidation threat against a young woman who did everything professionally. Mayor Pete the bully. I guess we should call him Secretary Buttigieg, but I'll just call him the bully because that was a bully tactic.
So apparently the people of East Palestine and women, female reporters, are not in the sphere of intersectionality for the Democrats or the Democrats in the White House. They're kind of excluded. So, Kayleigh, good to see you.
They're
Kayleigh.
not on the right side of the political aisle. Good to see you, too.
That's right. Thanks, Kayleigh.